Hey everybody, welcome back. In the next 15 minutes, we are going to talk in brief because it's a pretty significant topic.
Yeah.
But we are going to give you some point-form details on succession planning and retiring in real estate, which is, I'm so good that we're talking about this. Real estate is one of those things where it's not a traditional business, but I mean, if you think of a traditional business like a hardware store or a car dealership or a restaurant or a flower, anything literally that sells stuff, most people don't have the intention of working at their business for 20 years, that by the time they decide to retire, they put a close sign on and they walk away, and that's the end of that business forever. Most people have these businesses that they grow and they grow and they grow, and at the end of it, they hire a commercial real estate agent. They say, I've built something for 20 years, and now I'm going to sell it because it's awesome and it's super valuable. But often in real estate, the steps aren't taken for that, which is kind of sad because there could be a lot of value there.
Yeah, I see it all the time, and I watch, Krebs Talk and various things, and realtors and our own brokers that just sort of leave, and you're just like, so what are you doing with your database? And even to the database or the clients, and most of them don't have a database, which is one of the problems why, if they just switched careers, they weren't maintaining that. But the reality is that there is value there, and these people who might have been getting some good service are now going to do what? Are they going to go play realtor roulette and try to find another realtor by calling signs? They might not be the same personality style as that person. So I think that you're doing yourself and your clients a massive disservice by not thinking about this a little bit.
Totally. So let's have a conversation about somebody just started today in real estate. They have no intention of retiring. They're watching this meeting. And they're thinking, do I need a succession plan today?
Yeah, and the answer is that you don't need to actually have a succession plan, but you want to build a business that can be
for sale.
For sale, or sort of like a saleable real estate business. And that is, the things that you do today, such as having a database, putting together regular touch base points. I mean, if you haven't been in electronic communication with your clients, then you don't comply with the Castle anti-spam rules, and therefore you can't get back in touch with them. So if you've been doing this throughout your career and people expect to hear from you, then the relationship is increased. Then those types of things are going to have it where when you do come time, I mean, things happen in life. Like succession planning is not just people that are retiring because they're of the age that is. But someone might say, you know what, I got another opportunity. My family and I are moving, we're relocating, and you have to leave your business behind. I mean, you don't get to choose when all of that stuff happens, or you just say, I need a career change. You need to have a succession plan because you have a business there that can be sold. And the other thing too is that you don't always get to choose when you have a sudden illness come on. Think of this like your critical illness benefits or your short-term disability. It's like if you have a business that's been built in a bit of a saleable way, i.e. a database that you've kept in touch with, that's the biggest thing, that's as basic as it is, then you're ready to rock. And plus, people say, well, I'm just going to work until, I'll never retire from real estate. It's like, well, you don't always choose when you die, and you don't choose when your body just can't take it anymore. So everyone needs to think about this in some respects.
So what do you need to get started to have a succession plan?
Well, to get started, the biggest thing is make sure, when we say a trusted database, lots of people do keep in touch with people on Facebook and various things like that, and that can work. You can eventually get that done, but you need to get your database into some type of printed method or electronic method. It needs to be documented. So either in a database system like Prospects or Real Office 360, or in Google Contacts or anywhere. Excel spreadsheet would even work. But we need to be able to have these people's names and to get them contacted. And that's super, super important.
Well, and that makes sense even from just a normal business standpoint. Often if you are going to buy a bakery, let's do something basic, someone's going to ask to see your book of sales so they can determine what your regular customer count is like, how many people are coming through your doors, right? And really the only way to predict a future income in real estate, and this is a big part of ninja selling as well, is you predict your income based off of the quality of the number of people in your database.
Yeah, and the sort of the litmus test on that is, do these people in this database know, like, and trust you? That's as simple. You can have a database purchased from some mailing house, but that doesn't help. So do people know, like, and trust you? I just want to take one more step back for a second because we were talking about choosing your real estate business and not having or retiring or switching careers. we did a study and we looked at the people at CIR that transitioned to a lower cost brokerage. And on average, over the last 5 years, people that transitioned to a lower cost business, their business declined by 33%. And this is a perfect example of when we see people leave without a plan or what's happening, it's like they're basically almost giving up on their real estate business. They're taking that first step away, and they figured that first step to retirement is reducing cost. And well, there's plans that you have, and we'll talk about that, about how you reduce cost with that, but you're foregoing income, and you're saving a couple $1,000s to forego tens of thousands on the retirement side, and it blows my mind. But people don't know, they just don't think about this.
Right, that makes sense. So what does the transition period look like?
So the key is right now is the longer the better. Obviously, in order to have it where, if you're a friend of mine and I'm going to introduce you to somebody else, your relationship is with me. And the good news is we don't need to become as good of friends. We just need it where you trust me you trust my partner with their real estate business. So there's a couple options. Typically you partner up with the person. And that might last for, 5 years. If you're sort of like, I just want to sell part-time, partner up with this person, maybe you do that to the day that you retire. They just become a casual partnership. And that way you can keep the level of business up, keep in touch. Some people just say, I turn away business, I just pick and choose. And you see their deals going from 30 transactions a year down to 17, down to 10, down to 5. And it's like, what happened? Like, you should still be doing 30 transactions. Maybe you're only involved heavily to do the work in 5 of them, but your partner is doing the rest and you're taking a percentage referral off of those.
Right.
So that makes more sense. I got to give a big shout out to Mike Starr and Dick Brown and the partnership that they've created. It's a cool thing. And now Mike's obviously transitioned to a team now, but we've seen this happen and we've seen this work. And it's awesome. So we have precedence for it. So what should a transition period look like? Starts as a partnership, and that partnership might only last 6 months to 2 years. I like it where it's at least 6 months because that gives you time to do a few marketing activities to have the transition come over. So you might send an email marketing campaign if you have permission. You're getting on the phone. You're literally, this person is saying, hey, I want to introduce you to somebody. I know you bought your house from me 6 years ago, but I want you to know that we are interested in this. So you can do a mail out, snail mail. You can do a social media announcement, a press release that you can blast out, an email blast. There's a bunch of stuff that you can do, have a wine and cheese, a get together. And what's really interesting is that you might not have been in touch with your database as much. So you might actually see a little boost in business because you're actually getting back in touch with people. So that's a good thing too.
Cool. So obviously the end game of all of this is that you either get paid in some big lump sum by selling your business, or there's some residual income that keeps feeding you for a few years after you do this. How do you decide what that number looks like? Is it typical where this is just what everybody does, or are there some options?
There's variations, and it depends on the style of business you built. But if you think about it, I just need to say this overall because private businesses, you were mentioning the bakery example, private businesses that sell, and I differentiate that from public companies, they typically trade at what's called 2 to 3 times EBITDA. And you don't need to know what EBITDA is, except for it's earnings before interest, tax, depreciation. It basically means profit. So they sell at a multiple of 2 to 3 times the profit that you have. Now, some fetch more, some fetch a little bit less. Real estate and a realtor's business is not one of those repeatable things. You are the business in most cases. In fact, the second that you step away from your business, 30% of your clients are going to go elsewhere because they have a close enough relationship with another realtor, most people know more than one, that they just say, I don't need to use that. The good news is that 70% will still stay in the picture and say, okay, I trust this person you're referring to me, wonderful. So if your business is based on relationships, so it must be effective. So here's a sample of what you might do. Typically there's no lump sum because it's like, listen, the proof is going to be in the pudding.
Right.
So you might do a 3-year transition where you get a 50% referral fee on any business that comes into year 1, 40% on year 2, 35% on year 3. And then from there on in, that is for the list of people that you've provided. Now you might still meet other people, get introduced to somebody at a party. That person, you can have 25% referral fee for life. Now, even if you're an unlicensed person, you can still collect a referral fee. So anybody knew that you transitioned, if you were my transition person,
Right.
I would meet somebody at a dinner party who's new and say, you got to call Kirsten. I would get a 25% referral fee from that.
Right.
Now, when you're unlicensed, you can't engage in activities such as soliciting people to buy or sell real estate. But if it happens in happenstance, or it just so happens and you also have an agreement that works out, you can do that, and it's on the up and up. Now, for larger businesses that have proven track records, one of the things that we can do is there's a test that says if you don't complete, and you can do this for all businesses, but if you don't complete a minimum standard of services, and these percentages can fluctuate, they can change. It could be 60%, it could be 40%, more steady, could be extend out up to 5 years, whatever happens. But basically it says that if you don't do the activities that we agreed upon to stay in touch with my database, because if you're giving me your business, you're saying, how do I know that you're going to work this for 3 years?
Yeah.
So that's something that we'll talk about. But for most part, you can have a fee that says, if you don't do this, you owe me X amount of dollars if you don't maintain these activities.
Right. Well, and you just touched on the accountability part, which obviously is really important because if somebody totally drops the ball on your saleable business, then that income isn't given back to you. I guess the other thing that you'd have to consider is you mentioned, and this is such a good point, is you might not be best friends with everybody in your database. They call you when you need a real estate transaction. You keep in touch with them over a few different activities, but at the end of the day, you're not their BFF. And if 2 years later they buy a house from the person you've transitioned, it's not like you're talking to this person every day. You might not know, but there needs to be a way for you to somehow keep that other person accountable to the income that they owe you without you having to, check in with them all the time or contact everyone in your database, just like weirdly being like, have you done anything that I may have not heard of? So are there any systems that you would suggest for that to just make sure that the income that you're owed on that database is always coming to you?
Yeah, well, first thing first is that you're the one, if I'm buying your database, call it, or buying your business and we're doing this transition plan, I don't know historically, you're telling me that, I make a couple $100,000 a year, so you should too. That's simply not true.
Right.
So we need to try to determine here what the quality is. So both of us feed her to the fire here to say, all right, is it as good as you said it is? And as well as, and you're saying, well, yeah, but are you going to treat it as well as I did?
Right.
So there's sort of this give and take. So how do we do that? Well, there's different ways where, first of all, we say, what's the bare minimum level of communication we're going to provide these clients? And you might say, the absolute bare minimum that you must do is a monthly email newsletter, quarterly mailouts, and a voice-to-voice conversation with these people once a year.
Right.
Maybe it's an invite to a client appreciation event, maybe it's for a real estate review,
right.
But you're going to do these minimum activities and you will have an Excel spreadsheet checked off with the dates saying when this stuff happened. And that can be audited by yourself. If I'm buying your business, I'm the one taking over, quarterly or semi-annually. And where you can say, did you do it? And I just provide you a report saying, here's the thing. And I mean, she still knows the people.
Of course.
She's not dead. So she could just call up and say, hey, did you receive a phone call? Yeah, I received this mail out. Perfect.
Yeah.
And that's a little spot check that you can do. What's also nice is that CIR, the way that our systems work, we're uniquely set up for this. And we are helping realtors with this to say that, we have checks and balances where Kirsten can have access to review my transactions. And we can show you how to do it, the paperwork for that. But basically what it is we'd be able to audit it and make sure that she's getting the money that she's owed. And that's super important. So this person isn't just doing deals and your money's getting like slipped off the top somewhere and you're not seeing any of it. And someone's like, we only did 2 transactions this year. When in reality it might have been 6 and you didn't see a dime of it.
Right.
So that's important too. So we can provide checks and balances as well as the systems like the Thanksgiving mailouts and stuff like that. Make it super easy to comply with even minimum standards.
So if I'm the person who sold my business, is it important that I stay licensed while I'm receiving all of this income?
Yeah.
And how expensive is that?
Yeah, because I would say it's about $2,500 a year just to stay licensed with RECA and area.
Okay.
And CREB. CREB/CREA type thing. So just your minimum fees to do that. Now, the thing is you don't have to stay licensed. If you want to stay licensed, like we're doing joint marketing where Kirsten and Lindsay are staying on for sales signs, then you can do that. You can be designated in on each transaction. And CIR has a unique plan for this called our leave of absence plan that your fees will be reduced down to $70 a month,
Okay.
but you can't sell.
Right.
You can't actively do transactions. That's the catch, is you can't sell, you get cut off of some services, but you're still legal as far as RECA goes for compliance. And we're doing that for people that are going through the retirement piece as an easy way to keep their finger on it. But eventually you just say, even the $2,500, I don't want to pay anymore. So you give it up. If you give it up completely, you can no longer market yourself, do co-marketing,
Right.
but you still get your 1, 2, and 3-year payouts and your future referrals because of the agreement that we have. And we can provide the auditing for the transaction and provide the reports for that as well.
That's really great.
Yeah.
Really great.
Yeah. So I think this is just a, if you are
Food
thinking
for thought.
yeah, and if you even say, like, for you, those of you that are just like, I don't want to think about it now, make sure your database is in order. Make sure you're keeping in touch with these people in a compliant, permission-based way. So today, build a database that's going to be saleable. And number 2, if you're like, maybe it's time for a career change or something like that, or if you're actually thinking of retiring, then get in touch with your manager and let's start talking to other people that you might be able to create a casual partnership with to help maintain your database.
Yeah, so smart.
Absolutely.
So smart. Awesome. Thank you for that, Lindsay.
My pleasure.
We will leave you with that. There's a lot of information in this one. This would be a good class one day.
Yeah. I think
we'll
do one. We'll do one. Maybe October.
Yeah.
October we'll do one.
I like it.
October. Yeah. Good. Thumbs up.
Okay, guys. Thank you. We'll be right back talking a little bit about digital marketing.